There we go.
So the key here is that you've got to make sure you've got enough evidence to throw out their prima facie case, probably.
And that's exactly what I've been talking about.
But you want to get them here. I wanted you to learn this because you've got to force them to the evidence. And force them to the evidence so that it's not all of their bad affidavits up against us trying to put in a bunch of affidavits. We've got tons of primary evidence. We want to force the judge to primary evidence. I'm going to say one more thing in closing, which is they are quoting the Bailey decision. So the Bailey decision came down in August of 2011. It's the first big decision related to a eviction case after a purported foreclosure. And in the Bailey case, they go back in the case law quite a long way. And they look at cases, gosh, all the way back to the early 1800s. Is that possible? No, must have been a case late 1800s. Anyway, to look for what do you do, because there hasn't been many foreclosures in 150 years. So the case law is old. And what they say is that for an eviction case, what the plaintiff who claims to have the property after a foreclosure has to prove is that they obtained the deed to the property and recorded a foreclosure deed and affidavit. They come in and they say, we've got a foreclosure deed and an affidavit. They skip having to prove that they obtained the deed.
By strict compliance with
they are misinterpreting, and they have happily chopped out a piece of the Bailey decision, the foreclosure deed and affidavit being recorded, and said, this is our prima facie case. It is not. Their prima facie case is that they obtained the deed and recorded a foreclosure deed and an affidavit. So because of the misinterpretation of Bailey, it's critical that you throw out this affidavit, because it throws out the presumption that they have a prima facie case. But you wouldn't actually, if they were reading the law, have to do that. You could go after anything related to obtaining the deed, because that's what Bailey actually said. They then go on to misquote Hendricks 1, the SJC decision, where Hendricks 1 says, look, you only need a foreclosure deed and an affidavit in the registry of deeds. It's presumptive good evidence. But they're talking about the standard required for the registry of deeds and for some third-party purchaser to come in and rely on what's in the registry of deeds. There's a sloppiness in how they wrote it, but they then say that once you bring the foreclosure deed and affidavit into court, it is just evidence like any other evidence. So it's not enough to prove their entire case for an eviction case. They've mushed together the Hendricks analysis of what's needed for the registry with what's needed in court. And in Hendricks 1, the court specifically footnotes that they've only been asked in Hendricks 1 about a sufficiency challenge to standing, that Hendricks did not bring a factual challenge. So they kind of opened the door to saying, guys, you're looking in the wrong place. You should have brought a factual challenge to the affidavit in the post-purported foreclosure eviction case in Hendricks, and you didn't. You brought to us only a sufficiency challenge, and we can't get very far with that, the SJC says. So you will see, and you've seen this a bunch, if you've seen these cases, you guys should have, that in their standard argument, the bank's standard argument, they will come in and say that if you challenge this affidavit, they will say, go look at Hendricks. Hendricks said as long as it was in the statutory form, we're good. So you can lie, their argument. You can lie through your teeth all the way along as long as it's in the statutory form.
Unless, well, it's prima facie truth unless you can prove it's a lie.
That's not what they say. What they say is, we go in.
Because it's the statutory form, not because it's the truth.
Exactly. And
the white on the page is, hey, we can lie all we want as long as it's in the statutory form.
And there's no way that's what the legislature or the SJC meant.
Yeah,
the same thing is true here when they come in with these affidavits. They will say, well, we've written down that so-and-so is the note owner and that we are their agent. And so we're good. The fact that it's a lie, they say as long as we met the statutory requirement, there's no way the SJC, in talking about 183.5B affidavits, well, actually they did put down a case saying it has to be true. That's the Bank of America v. Casey case. But before that, they had said in Eaton, they had said in Pinty, look, you can put in an affidavit in the registry saying this to the banks, and that's enough. But they assumed that when they said affidavit, it meant it would meet the requirements of an affidavit.
Of course.
And I mean, why would they say that? They don't need to say that.
Right.
But the banks regularly come in with their briefs in eviction cases and say, the court said we could put in an affidavit. We did put in an affidavit. We write, this is how the affidavit is factually untrue. And the judges say, well, but they put an affidavit in and that's all the SJC or the legislature told them to do. And it's ridiculous.
Yep.
See, the difference between evidence and proof is like the registry documents. That's evidence.
Correct.
The proof is if you bring the original in. It's like
actually proof is something that the judge decides based on what you brought them. But
right.
Yes, I understand the distinction you're trying to make.
If you have a bunch of evidence, it could lead to proof.
Right.
But it's like you bring in the duplicate of a check. Right.
Right. That's not
evidence that a check may have happened, but it's not proof.
Okay. Can I raise something? I'm looking at the standard eviction form.
Yeah.
And that's the complaint they send you. They really don't send anything else.
They're not allowed to send anything else.
Really?
No. Under Summary Process Rule 2, that is the document.
So you can challenge the complaint because what they write in there, you continue to
hold over after the
foreclosure. So, I mean, just this form alone, unless they state sufficient facts.
The court has the right to public notice of anything in the public record. So there's because summary process rules are different.
Okay.
You have to learn the summary process rules. They are our friend in these situations. Fabulous friend. So they put on their complaint all they're allowed on the form, on the directions, is what they can fit in that little slot.
And what they should be saying is plaintiff acquired title to property by strict compliance with the statutes related to foreclosure and terms of the mortgage. Defendant continues to hold over after having been received a
they
complaint.
don't have to do the second part because the second part is in the summary process rules. They're allowed to put in the notice to quit, and it should be self-explanatory that the notice to quit met their obligation.
Got it. Okay.
But you're correct that slot is big enough for them to do a proper recital.
So if they don't,
they could absolutely say we are the owner after, as you said, a foreclosure under strict, or if they bought back, strictest compliance standard, and we sent the legally required default, right to cure, affidavits in the registry, notice of sale. That's not required for foreclose. Notice of sale, the accounting's accurate.
It's required.
They could put that in there because we do that in one sentence on the appeal bond forms. We put in a whole slew of words.
Well, they can annex another page if they have to.
No, they can't. I just said they can't. Oh. The summary process rule 2 only allows them to use that form.
Okay.
The form is it. They have to put that in. They have to put in the notice to quit and service, showing service of the complaint and service of the notice.
Okay, so I'm looking at Vital's summons a complaint right here. I just went on to masscourts.org. And let's see what they say here. Court address, 225 Main Street. Okay. Beginning with the judicial review, unlawfully and against the right of said claimant landlord owner because your tenancy was terminated for cause on August 1st, 2008, and you remain in possession, breach of lease agreement. What lease agreement? You got a lease agreement?
No, that's correct.
That's not Vital. That's 2 Bancroft Street.
But it doesn't matter. It is similar.
Right.
They do say the problem is that they violated the tenancy.
Kevin
but
Rosario,
in their argument for summary judgment, they say that they were never bona fide tenants and they're squatters. So they're trying to change that. All that one sentence said in the
Yeah,
complaint,
motion
they're
is
trying to
right.
bring them in under a different basis in the summary judgment.
Well, they made a fruit salad over there. They make
No,
inconsistent
the
allegations.
Totally different.
Yeah, that's true, but the summary judgment literally chose a different basis for eviction than stated in the complaint.
Okay.
And they don't own anything anyway, so they're in deeper trouble for that. But so you got this.
I'd like to take a picture, but I'm definitely read into those cases. And
Anything sanctionable here
well,
for the attorneys or the other
The
side?
problem right now is that we have a
Plaintiff.
really steep pile of you-know-what that we've got to
would
get
that be
rid of.
doo-doo?
I didn't say it.
Poo-poo.
The briefs, I think that probably, Richard, if you wanted to, sort of do a project with me, we would go through their briefs, the bank's briefs. There's a ton of sanctional stuff in there.
Okay.
Not so much this stuff per se, but they not only do they bend decisions like Bailey and Hendricks, but they literally rewrite some of the decisions in their standard briefs. Yeah. And that is sanctionable. Okay. So the one where, can we turn off?
You want to pause it?
No, we're done recording.